Blockade is a Web3 security company. Basically, we're giving wallets the ability to make sure their users are protected from scams, phishing, or any on-chain security incident. So prior to this, myself, Ido, and the rest of our team, so we've been in the Israeli Army cyber intelligence units. We had the honor of serving with these people that find vulnerabilities in the most modern operating systems and browsers, and now they're working with us in Blockade. And yeah, let's start. So what we're going to talk about today, first of all, malicious dapps, where are they, right? How do they find your users? How do they get to their eyeballs? How do they get their attention? Then we're going to dig into, like, take one step backward, understand DApp anatomy, DApp architecture, then doing this on a malicious DApp, looking at some malicious payloads, talking about some next generation attacks. So yeah, let's start. So malicious dapps, how do they get to your users? Basically, they are everywhere. So first of all, Google Ads. I'm sure you are familiar with this ETH Denver phishing campaign. So like putting ETH Denver in Google, you have like 3 ads. 2 of them are fake phishing sites that will drain your user's wallet, and only the third one is real. You have the same in Twitter, Instagram. So the Twitter is pretty interesting. Like you can see the base layer 2 that like Coinbase released, I think a week ago or 2 weeks ago. So this is like looks exactly like the same, but essentially like a wallet drainer. Then you can see it on Instagram, NFT marketplaces. So anyone can list its collection on the NFT marketplace, and Discord. So they are everywhere. They can get your users' eyeballs. So let's take a look on a DApp anatomy or DApp architecture. So basically, you have the user interface. Then you have like 3 major pillars of how they are communicate or what the interactions they are doing. So the first thing is like JSON RPC, like the wallet DApp communication, sending different methods to the wallet. Also like smart contracts, so the backends of these dapps is like the smart contracts, the on-chain code. And then you have Web 2 APIs, or Web 2 for Web 3 APIs. For example, like OpenSea API, Morales API, or Node APIs. These are all used for similar purposes for the wallets. They can't sign actual transaction, but for example, like understanding what are the NFT that a user holds is something that can be a bit complicated with ETH calls. So like using the OpenSea API for this is okay. Using Morales for enumeration of ERC20 tokens, etc. So now I want to present an internal tool we are using at Blockade. So we're calling it like a Wireshark for Web3. X-ray stands for transaction X-ray. Essentially, when you are interacting with a DApp, specifically a malicious DApp, you want to be able to intercept all the JSON RPC calls, as well as like doing it inside the sandbox, because you don't want to do it with your address. You don't want to be drained. And something that is very important to know about this, the dapps they're like treating differently to different kind of users. So for example, like a Bored Ape targeting phishing site could be completely benign for users that don't hold Bored Apes, but completely malicious for a Bored Ape user. So you want to be able to emulate each one of these addresses to make sure you covered all the different interactions and the potential JSON RPC payloads that this site is transmitting. So let's look on the X-ray with like a benign DApp. So have you heard video? As you can see right here, you can put in the DApp URL. It just shows the randomly minting side URL. You can see the different JSON RPC transacted on the right-hand side of the screen. Then when you're pressing mint, so you can see a transaction that is emitted like a ETH send transaction. So what is like colored here? These are the things that will like pop up for your wallet as a user. The other JSON RPC will not be able to see. And you can see like in this case, it was a mint function. So like this is an analysis on a completely benign site. Now we should look on how the X-ray operates on a malicious DApp. So as you can see here, like it's free airdrop, mutant paths. We will dig into this shortly. But like a minting site, you can see the different RPC emitted. And then like you can see also send transaction here, but of course different transactions. We'll dig into each one of them soon. And yeah, you can analyze the site via different users. This is what we're going to do today. of course, like a if sign type data before. We are going to dig into this as well, but this is about the ticks right now. So the main thing to take from here up until now is like as a user or as a wallet, so you don't have any promise that a site that says mint, a site that has a mint button, will actually do a mint. We saw two very similar sites. One is a completely benign mint site. The other is a malicious mint site. You have no possible way to understand this as a novice user. So let's break down into a malicious dapp. Let's see exactly what it does and how it does this. And of course, focus on the JSON RPC. This is like the interface between the dapp and the actual wallet. So first of all, impersonation, like a regular thing for phishing sites, not just in Web3. You want to get these eyeballs, you want to understand, and you want the users to think that this is like an original site. So this site, like the mutant paths, you can see like it is an actual collection listed in OpenSea and everything, and then the impersonating site looks very similar. Now let's talk about the Web3 APIs or the Web to Web3 APIs. So you can see in this case, the site is doing like two interesting things. First one is querying the OpenSea API for the collections the user that is interacting with it right now holds. And then the other thing, like using the Morales API for enumerating the ERC20 that the current user is holding and their price. Now we should dive into the JSON RPC. I think this is the most interesting part. So before we will dive into this, we have here like two case studies, then one like next gen vulnerability like we find. So I want to say that there are a lot of cases like this. We are showing only two cases, but there are like we are seeing like tens of these each day via our like customers. So just like a disclaimer. So the first thing, like the first pattern I want to show is what we're calling a row signature farming. So we're going to look on a pattern of the different JSON RPC and understand exactly what the malicious site is doing. So first thing here is like a is get balance. You want to get the balance, the current balance of the user that is interacting with the site. Then the second thing is chain, like the chain ID. You want to know on which chain the user is operating right now. Transaction count, aka the nonce, like the nonce of the current user. Gas price, and then before I will go into the two JSON RPC we have here. Does anyone have a wild guess of what this site is trying to achieve? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. What's your name? Braden. Yeah, so Braden, you're 100% right. So this site is actually like crafting a transaction, like a raw transaction for you, and therefore it needs your balance, your nonce, the gas price. So you can see like the each sign is prompted to, like it asks you to sign this 32-byte payload. You will understand exactly in a second what it does. And then you can see it actually sends like a raw transaction. When we're taking this transaction and decoding it, we see that, like, first of all, we have no data, so it's like a regular if transfer. And then looking on the balances, so we can look at like the user we used for this example has like these balances minus gas prices for actually sending this transaction. And to sum up, like what's happening here, so like the site is asking you what's your balance, what is the current chain, what is the nonce, what is the gas price. It crafts like a raw transaction for you, gets to sign on the hash of this transaction, and then sends it. So this is like a very like known attack vector. We are seeing it on many malicious sites. So yeah, let's move on to the second example. So the second example, I think before diving it, we're calling it seaport farming. Before diving it, let's give a bit of a background about EIP712. You're probably familiar with it, but like essentially this is like a method for wallets to sign a typed textual data. One example for its usage is Seaport. Seaport is OpenSea contract, so like managing an on-chain order book is a hard problem. If you can delegate some of your actions to be done off-chain without compromising the security of the protocol, it is a positive thing for doing. And if I am, for example, like suggesting something, I want to sell something in OpenSea, so I will have this order prompted for me. I will sign it off-chain signing it, and then like the Seaport protocol will use it when someone would like to buy my protocol, to buy my assets. So let's see how the malicious dapps using this Seaport order in order to get your asset. So let's look on the following pattern. The first thing is like an NFT. It's not like a wallet JSON RPC request. It's like an actual HTTP request for Moralis. So the site wants to enumerate your NFTs, first thing. Then second thing is we see a stream of ETH calls. So first ETH call is an is approved for all ETH call for the collection Poolcats that probably returned from the NFT request from Moralis. And then the site is asking, are you approved? The reason why the site is asking this is it because OpenSea requires you to approve your assets for a contract they own. This contract is called Conduit. So the site essentially asks you, have you ever listed this asset on OpenSea? Then we can see it done on like Bored Ape Yacht Club collection. We can see that on Reown user token, another like a NFT token. And then we can see the site is using getCounter. So getCounter is like an application nonce of Seaport. And then the last thing is like it's trying to get you signed Seaport order that will take away all of your NFTs that are approved for OpenSea. It looks like this. Okay, so we have like this textual data. You are the offerer. You're offering an item like in this case like Bored Ape Yacht Club number 5312. You're offering it in exchange of nothing, and this is what the site is trying to do. Actually, a fun fact, so the Kevin Rose incident that you probably familiar with it as well. So this is what it do, like essentially popping up for Kevin like a Seaport order to sign, convincing it to sign it, and then taking away all of his assets in one transaction. So to sum it up, the Seaport farming, so first of all, the DApp is asking, okay, what NFTs do you have? Then for each one of them, it asks, are these approved for the Conduit contracts for OpenSea? Assuming they are approved, it gets the counter, like an application nonce of OpenSea that is required in order to build a Seaport order. And then it just grabs the Seaport order and pops it up for you to sign. So this is the second vector. So before we go to the next gen threats, so as I said, like we're seeing a lot of these attacks every day. This is a positive things that like protocols want to improve the user experience and are doing things off-chain or like new EIPs are getting, but like attackers are looking at this as well and trying to think of creative methods to take away your assets from you using these new user experiences that are like relatively new for the user. So next gen threats. So we wanted to give an example of something that is possible for a user to do. So I will just play the video and then we can talk about it. So yeah, it's like a malicious swap, like a site that like we deployed for educational purposes. So you can see like a fake app explicitly saying this. The user trying to connect it. It uses WalletConnect. And then scanning the QR from Windows Phone, we can see that like the site is like identifies as app.uniswap.org. So this is something that every app can do, it's able to do with nothing special. So like just embed the QR code and identify as app.uniswap.org. The user sees everything as usual in its like mobile device, but the site is completely malicious, and of course it's not Uniswap. So this is something that like attackers can do. We haven't seen attacks like this on the wild. We talked with Pedro from WalletConnect, and we're now fixing this thing and like making sure like nobody will be able to identify as a DApp that not the original DApp. Yeah, I think to sum it all up, so like in security, there is a sentence like it's a cat and mouse game, right? So like attackers are doing something, then the defenders are doing something, and then you're going over it again and again. And as I said earlier, like there are protocols that like constantly improving. They are building new user experiences. And with these new user experiences comes attackers that are trying to find creative ways to use them in order to drain users' wallets. So it is important to always keep track with these new attacks, with these new user experiences, like the seaport thing. So like a user might see, hey, this is the seaport, it's an OpenSea contract, so yeah, I'm going to do it without worrying. And like, it's important to making sure like users will not hurt in these ways anymore. So if you want to get more information or to get access for the TX tool, we'll be happy to talk with you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm just curious, like, what are some of your favorite security tips then, like the most important ones for me as a wallet user?
So I think one very important lesson is like to always doubt like the thing that is in front of you, because as you saw in the presentation, so you had like a site that's saying mint, you can't believe to this thing. So this is like one important tip. Then the second thing would be like, even if you are interacting with something that uses something you are familiar with, for example, like a seaport order or a permit order on Uniswap. So always make sure to check everything there. You are familiar with this and never like blind sign on things.
Are there ways to pair the browser site origin with the like appropriate smart contract to make it so that some of these malicious things, because it's like a malicious front end that's then pushing you to a fake smart contract. Is that the right way to think of it? Is there a way to pair the real Uniswap contract and like Uniswap like their website?
Yeah, so you are 100% right. Like a lot of confusions are coming from the fact that like a site who's not in charge of the smart contract or the protocol is doing these things, and yeah, there are like ways to kind of try on and pinning like smart contract to specific sites. By the way, there are a lot of attacks that are not using this kind of thing, but like if we're trying to tackle this, so like we can try to like pinning this thing. The problem with this is it will prevent like interoperability. Okay, so for example, I know that there are like legitimate cases of using seaport order, or like protocols want to give the possibility for other protocols to use the things they are building. So like I think that the solution for this is not like pinning something to a specific like front end, or like managing a deny list or an accept list of smart contracts to site. It's just like understanding what is happening, making sure the user understands this as well, giving him a recommendation if what he tries to do is like something that will be good for him or will hurt him.
I actually did have a question. I think there's been a big theme in today's conference about whose responsibility is to make sure that users aren't getting scammed. And I just wanted to kind of hear your take. If you think it relies more on the wallet, on the dapps side, on the chain side.
Oh, yeah, sorry. So I think first thing before answering this question is like making sure that like us as an industry and as like an ecosystem will not blame anyone. So for example, I saw like responses for like the Kevin Ross incidents, or like every time a user gets affected, like the immediate response from the community is like, hey, why did you do this? You are down. You should take care of it. So it's important to like not letting anyone feel like he did something wrong. If he wants to bring mass adoption, and like I don't know, like my grandmother used crypto, so we must make sure to be like more understanding towards novice users. And for your question, I think it should be like shared effort. I think wallets should do a work around like user experience and around analyzing transactions, and dapps should make like cooperations with wallets and other protocols to make sure users are not affected. So my short answer would be like shared between wallets and dapps.